The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
I know there was a judge who is clearly trying to shield Letitia James and James Comey from receiving accountability.
Both legal cases against James Comey and Letitia James have been dismissed. Why the judge's ruling is still leaving the door open for new charges to come again in the future.
I think he's quite pleased at the reports we've given him about the amount of progress that's been made.
Path to peace in Ukraine, what President Trump says about new negotiations and what the final sticking points could be before the war comes to an end. And then a look inside a lawsuit against Meta, what plaintiffs say the social media giant allegedly did when faced with findings about the harms of their product to customers. Good evening. I'm Taylor Murray. Welcome to the National News Desk, America's News Now. The federal prosecution of former FBI Director James Comey, as well as New York Attorney General Letitia James, is over for now. U.S. District Judge Cameron McGowan Curry ruled today Lindsay Halligan, who brought the cases, was improperly appointed as a federal prosecutor. Comey took to social media to applaud the decision and issue a warning.
This case mattered to me personally, obviously, but it matters most because a message has to be sent that the President of the United States cannot use the Department of Justice to target his political enemies. I don't care what your politics are, you have to see that as fundamentally un-American and a threat to the rule of law that keeps all of us free.
It is worth noting that the judge did not mention the facts of either indictment and that the cases were dismissed without prejudice. Now, that means future prosecution of either Comey or James remains possible. But for now, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt maintains Halligan was properly appointed.
The Department of Justice will be appealing very soon, and it is our position that Lindsay Halligan is extremely qualified for this position, but more importantly, was legally appointed to it.
President Trump announced today that he will visit Beijing in April to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping. And then at a later date, President Xi will come to the White House for a state visit. The two leaders spoke on the phone this morning. The White House says they talked trade, Taiwan, and the war in Ukraine. China says Xi told Trump that Taiwan's return to mainland China is an important part of international order. The island is self-governing and does not want to take orders from China. On trade, it's unclear if any concrete agreements have been made on soybeans, which the Trump administration wants China to purchase from U.S. farmers in droves. Meanwhile, speaking on Ukraine, President Trump says something good just may be happening in talks to ending the war. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was in Switzerland for peace talks over the weekend with Ukraine's chief of staff, said despite the need for more changes, negotiations are certainly headed in the right direction as the 28-point plan has now been narrowed to 19 points.
I think the report today is that I think today was worthwhile. It was it is probably the most productive day we have had on this issue, maybe in the entirety of our engagement, but certainly in a very long time.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed some reservations with the current deal. Speaking in Sweden today, he said he wants compromises that strengthen Ukraine, not weaken it, and that ceding territory to Russia remains a large issue. Both U.S. and Ukrainian officials say it is possible Zelensky could come to Washington to meet with President Trump by the end of this week, but no decisions have been made yet. This afternoon, President Trump signed an executive order officially designating the Muslim Brotherhood as a foreign terror organization. The group has long been accused of destabilizing the Middle East and radicalizing young Muslims around the world. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins joins us from the White House with more.
A number of Muslim countries have already outlawed the Muslim Brotherhood, including Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and even Egypt, where the group began, designating it a terror group. President Trump signing an executive order Monday announcing the United States now also recognizes the Muslim Brotherhood as a terror organization. The president's resolve coming on the heels of a new report analyzing the Muslim Brotherhood's goals and tactics. The authors highlight the group's long-term strategy of gradually transforming Western society from within by exploiting our democratic principles and multicultural respect for diversity. Essentially, it's a slow takeover of Western society over the course of decades.
The Muslim Brotherhood is influencing at the executive branch. It's influencing policymakers.
Critics note it's critical to separate this political movement of Islamism that the Muslim Brotherhood promotes from Islam, the diverse major world religion with 2 billion followers.
Post 9/11, there was Islamophobia, then came boycott, divestment, sanctions, demonizing Israel, and now we've just seen the pro-Hamas protests. That is all part of their multi-generational project to have a war against the secular and undermine our democracy using our democratic freedoms.
Texas getting ahead of the federal government. Last week, Governor Greg Abbott designated the Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on American Islamic Relations, known as CAIR, as a foreign terrorist organization and transnational criminal organization, writing, "The Muslim Brotherhood and CAIR have long made their goals clear: to forcibly impose Sharia law and establish Islam's mastership of the world."
CAIR. It's an acronym. What should we know about that organization?
It portrays itself to be advocating for Muslims like me, but actually it's advancing an Islamist project.
The designation bans them from buying and owning land in the state. CAIR fired back with a lawsuit denying the accusations. In a statement, CAIR Texas writing, "Mr. Abbott is defaming us and other American Muslims because we are effective advocates for justice here and abroad."
And Taylor, the executive order signed Monday asks for a joint report within 30 days from the Secretary of State, Treasury Secretary, and Attorney General concerning Muslim Brotherhood chapters here and abroad regarding this new designation.
And Kayla, is there likely to be pushback as President Trump moves ahead with this?
Oh, absolutely. So civil liberties groups and some foreign policy analysts argue the Brotherhood is too diffuse and decentralized to classify as a single terror organization. They warn the designation could sweep the U.S.-based Muslim groups that have no proven ties to terrorism. So as this moves forward, expect legal challenges and even maybe some diplomatic fallout with countries that still allow the Brotherhood to operate politically within their borders. Taylor.
In Washington, D.C., Kayla Gaskins, thank you. Well, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi is in Tennessee meeting with law enforcement. She and other officials just gave an update on the Memphis Safe Task Force. The crime-fighting effort has led to thousands of arrests since September, when President Trump ordered federal guard troops to combat crime alongside state and local law enforcement. But the task force is straining the local court system and overcrowded jail. Officials are concerned as long wait times cause people to miss work and inmates are forced to wait for bail hearings. Opponents also claim the task force is targeting minorities. The Pentagon says it is investigating Democratic Senator and Navy veteran Mark Kelly after he said this in a video to U.S. troops.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
He did not specify what orders those might be. Officials claim Senator Kelly interfered with loyalty and discipline of armed forces and may have breached military law. The Pentagon points to a law allowing the defense secretary to recall retired service members to active duty for possible court-martial. In a post on X, Senator Kelly responded in part, quote, "If this is meant to intimidate me and other members of Congress from doing our jobs and holding this administration accountable, it won't work." Well, Portland Trailblazers head coach and NBA Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups pleads not guilty in federal court in Brooklyn to those charges stemming from an alleged mafia-related gambling scheme. Prosecutors say Billups, who is one of 31 defendants, used his celebrity status to lure in high rollers to poker tables rigged with X-ray technology and altered shuffling machines. The NBA confirms the Blazers placed Billups on leave shortly after the charges were announced last month. Billups, who spent 17 seasons in the NBA, is due back in court March 4th, 2026. In rural southwestern Virginia, state police have spent the weekend searching for missing high school football coach Travis Turner. The National News Desk Caleb Perney explains there are still a lot of unanswered questions while Turner's team presses forward.
Virginia State Police say Union High School football coach Travis Turner first went missing when they were headed to his home for an investigation. Since then, they've been searching these mountains for any sign of where he may be. State police will not say what the investigation is, but they emphasize they were not going to Turner's home to arrest him. Wise County schools say they have suspended an employee with pay, but would not confirm if that employee is Turner. Neither state police nor school officials will speak on camera. On the fourth day of the search, the parking lot where police were staging noticeably emptier compared to the weekend. State police have used search and rescue teams, drones, and canines to try to find Turner. A FlightAware map showing a state police helicopter going in circles for a time over the area Saturday.
Don't know how to feel, don't know what to think, don't know how to act, but God, we're grateful to know that our God is bigger.
Meanwhile, Turner's disappearance was the elephant in the room at Saturday's football game. Students and community members gathering for a prayer circle ahead of kickoff.
No matter what's going on around us, we can count on our neighbors, and we can count on those that are God's put in our life, and we can count on our community to be bigger than the situation we're facing.
The Union Bears pulled out the win, continuing a 12-game winning streak to advance to the region championship.
We talked in the huddle, and we was like, listen, boys, we're going to have to handle adversity here, but we stick together as brothers here, and we should come out with a victory.
Turner was officially added to the Virginia State Police missing persons list Sunday. State police say he was last seen in a gray sweatshirt and sweatpants. In Wise County, Virginia, this is Caleb Perney reporting.
Coming up this Thanksgiving week, prepare for a busier travel rush than years past. The best times to hit the road and where weather could impact air travel. Then one of America's most popular meat suppliers is looking to close one of its largest beef processing plants. The latest shakeup to the cattle industry in an uncertain market. And how the head of the Catholic Church is responding to the kidnapping of hundreds of Catholic school children in Nigeria as outrage grows over continued violence towards Christians. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Roughly 17 million people across Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi experience an increased chance of severe weather tonight. So listen up. The National Weather Service says there is a threat for a few supercells capable of producing tornadoes, damaging wind, and isolated large hail tonight. Already, at least one tornado touched down outside of Houston this afternoon. Look at this video. Mark Herman, Harris County Constable, posted this video showing multiple houses being damaged. Officials say that number could be as high as 100 homes. Trees and power lines also torn down, and there are no reports of any injuries so far. Well, as we look ahead to the busy holiday travel week, on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, a cold front could bring snow in areas like Minneapolis and the northern tier of the U.S. That same Arctic blast will then invade the eastern U.S. in time for Black Friday shopping. Also, rain and gusty winds will arrive in the northeast over the next 2 days, and this could trigger delays to major airports in cities like Boston and New York. Meanwhile, the FAA is expecting this will be the busiest Thanksgiving in terms of flights. The TSA expects to screen nearly 31 million passengers during the holiday week, with the busiest day at airports being tomorrow. Meanwhile, AAA expects 73 million Americans to hit the road this year. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says if you want to avoid traffic, leave earlier in the day this week.
We anticipate seeing 73 million Americans hitting the road this Thanksgiving season. We anticipate the busiest travel on the road in the afternoon of this coming Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday. So if you're planning your travel, think about when you depart, because the afternoons of those days are going to be busier than the rest.
And if you are flying this holiday, just be sure to check ahead for any weather-related cancellations or delays. Well, shoppers have been seeing meat prices climb all year, and now one of the country's biggest suppliers is about to shut down one of its largest plants. As the national news desk Matt Galko reports, the White House is struggling to find ways to bring down the cost.
The largest meat supplier in the U.S., Tyson Foods, is set to shut down one of its bigger meat processing plants in Lexington, Nebraska. Members of Congress in Nebraska have already criticized the decision. Senator Deb Fischer said she was extremely disappointed in the decision that would have a devastating impact on the community. Congressman Mike Flood said Tyson should try and help the roughly 3,000 people who could lose their jobs.
Work with our food producers and livestock owners. Let's make this plant in Lexington work for another company so that we can keep the jobs that we've built.
The closure comes as beef prices are at record highs. The average price of ground beef in September was $6.32. That's up from $5.54 in January when Donald Trump took office. The president has pressured meat packers to lower meat prices and directed the Department of Justice to investigate meat packing companies, accusing them of collusion, price fixing, and price manipulation. His Treasury Secretary partly blamed the Biden administration's immigration policies for the rising prices.
Because of the mass immigration, a disease that we've been rid of in North America made its way up through South America. As these migrants, they brought some of their cattle with them. So part of the problem is we've had to shut the border to Mexican beef.
The price of beef has become a political problem, adding to the cost of living challenges faced by Americans. The Trump administration recently removed 40% tariffs from Brazilian coffee, cocoa, and beef, while attempting to tackle the affordability crisis. The administration also announced a plan last month to import more beef from Argentina in an effort to lower prices. There is no apparent quick fix. Droughts have left American cattle supply at its lowest number in 70 years, and demand is still very high. Some industry experts predict ground beef could hit $10 a pound in 2026, with no relief until 2027. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani is calling his Friday meeting at the White House productive, but he told NBC News that he thinks President Trump is still a fascist.
Everything that I've said in the past, I continue to believe, and that's the thing that I think is important in our politics, is that we don't shy away from where we have disagreements, but we understand what it is that brings us to that table.
But being the mayor of New York City is a big deal.
Their meeting shocked observers when it turned out to be more cordial than expected. Kevin Hassett, President Trump's top economic advisor, says the White House was reassured by Mamdani's decision to retain New York City's current police commissioner, Jessica Tisch. Well, concerning new information about Meta, a legal filing claims the company stopped internal research that showed people who stopped using Facebook became less depressed and anxious. The filing is connected to litigation involving parents and other plaintiffs against social media companies. The plaintiffs say the businesses knew their platforms could cause people's mental health harm, but did not take action. Meta and Google deny the accusations. Malaysia is the latest country, meanwhile, to limit social media for youth. Starting next year, people under 16 in Malaysia will not be allowed to have social media accounts. The communications minister says the cabinet approved this as part of a larger effort to protect children from things like cyberbullying, scams, and, of course, exploitation. Australia, Denmark, and Norway are also taking similar steps. Well, Novo Nordisk says the highly anticipated Alzheimer's drug failed in trial. The trial tested whether semaglutide, the key ingredient in Ozempic and Wegovy, can slow the progression of the neurological disease. Now, the company says the results showed improvement in disease-related biomarkers, but did not slow progression. Novo Nordisk shares fell to a 4-year low following this news. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we start in Virginia, where experts are warning about scams targeting holiday shoppers.
Packed stores, packed sidewalks, and packed shopping bags, with Black Friday only days away.
Usually we stay home. We do some online shopping.
And while that may be more convenient,
you may be getting some emails for super duper deals.
This Virginia Tech computer science professor says to never trust an email or text from what may look like a retailer, but is really just a scammer trying to take advantage of eager shoppers.
Don't trust emails by itself. Definitely go to the website yourself. Don't click on the links.
He says artificial intelligence, for example, has made it harder to tell what's real or what's fake. And all the more reason to stay vigilant, especially for seniors, who he says are targeted most by scammers.
As they gathered to celebrate a man who accomplished so much and served so many, the son of Lenny Wilkens showed how much his passing has affected those who loved him.
Give the Wilkens family grace as we struggle to get over this great loss.
Randy Wilkens says his father was deeply committed to improving the lives of youth, and the Odessa Brown Children's Clinic held a special place in his heart. The clinic is part of Seattle Children's Hospital, and the Lenny Wilkens Foundation has donated millions of dollars over the years. Wilkens played in the NBA for 15 seasons, including 4 with the Seattle Supersonics. He was a 9-time NBA All-Star who turned to coaching and helped the Sonics win the championship in 1979.
Nhi Lin here behind me is one of the giant Asian elephants here at the National Zoo, and she is expecting her first calf. This will be the first elephant birth here at the National Zoo in nearly 3 decades, and staff say they are cautiously optimistic she'll deliver a healthy baby between mid-January and early March. Asian elephants are critically endangered. Fewer than 50,000 remain in the wild.
It's the first time in over 25 years that we've had this sort of excitement for our elephant program. Elephant births are extremely rare and important for the species, and to finally be able to share that with our visitors and our guests is pretty exciting.
Coming up, outrage is growing after the mass kidnapping of hundreds of Catholic school children in Nigeria. We've got reactions pouring in from pop stars to the Pope. We're back in 90 seconds. The Trump administration has made ending the persecution of Christians in Nigeria a priority. It was the subject of a meeting last week between Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and security officials from Nigeria. As our Christine Frizzell reports, what happened in the country just hours later highlighted the need for action.
A series of violent attacks in Nigeria reverberating on the world stage. Just last week, more than 300 students and teachers were kidnapped from a Nigerian Catholic school. And while 50 have reportedly escaped, world leaders are pleading for action. Pope Leo saying he was deeply saddened to learn of the kidnapping of priests, faithful, and students, calling for their immediate release. President Trump, who has previously warned the U.S. military may get involved, also responded.
They're killing people by the thousands. It's a genocide. And I'm really angry about it. And we pay, we give a lot of subsidy to Nigeria. We're going to end up stopping. The government's done nothing. They're very ineffective.
President Trump nearly a month ago redesignated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. His attention to the matter garnering praise from pop star Nicki Minaj.
I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage and calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria.
For years, murder, kidnapping, and the burning of churches have run rampant. Those behind the violence often terror groups like Boko Haram, as well as a branch of ISIS, and a group of Fulani herdsmen. The country is evenly split between Christians and Muslims, and many moderate Muslims have also been targets.
Nigeria is ground zero, the focal point of the most brutal and murderous anti-Christian persecution in the world today. Moderate Muslims who speak out against the radical Islamists or refuse to conform with the serial killers are murdered as well.
Now, during that hearing here on Capitol Hill, we heard from both witnesses and lawmakers who believe Nigeria's president, Bola Tinubu, is not doing enough. Last week, he did cancel his trip to the G20 summit to deal with the security situation at home. I'm Christine Frizzell for the National News Desk.
Coming up, the holiday festivities ahead at the White House as the First Lady welcomes the official 2025 Christmas tree. We'll be right back. First Lady Melania Trump just welcomed the official 2025 Christmas tree to the White House. It's a concolor, fir from Michigan. It'll be the centerpiece of the Blue Room. And today's tree arrival kicks off holiday festivities at the White House. Tomorrow, President Trump will pardon 2 turkeys as part of Thanksgiving tradition. The White House tours will resume on December 2nd after halting for Trump's ballroom construction. That does it for this edition of the National News Desk. Join us again this evening for more on President Trump's renewed focus on Venezuela and how it might be tied to Russia and China. I'm Taylor Murray. Thanks for watching.